And there are also new developments this morning in the legal drama surrounding former President Donald Trump. The Supreme Court has replied to Trump's new request, where he asked the court to put a hold on a ruling rejecting his immunity claim. An appeals court rejected Trump's claim that he is absolutely immune from criminal charges over his attempts to overturn the 2020 presidential election. The Supreme Court has asked special counsel Jack Smith to respond by the 20th of this month. That's a week from today. This came as the judge overseeing the Georgia election interference case against Trump and his allies said he would go ahead with the hearing on Thursday, delving into the relationship between the two prosecutors leading the case. With us now to talk about this and more, David Henderson, civil rights attorney and former prosecutor. David, it's always great seeing you, my friend. Let's start with the whole Trump appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. What's going on there? How are things going to be playing out going forward?
Great to see you too, Jose. Typically, I would tell you I wouldn't worry too much about this appeal because the district court ruled against Trump. The Court of Appeals ruled against Trump. They followed largely the same reasoning. There's no reason to believe the Supreme Court's going to step in and reverse all of that. However, you've always got to keep in mind there's nothing typical about any of these proceedings. I think the trick here, as we discussed the other cases, is to not think of this case in isolation. In a sense, former President Trump has already won because he didn't simply want to delay this trial. He wants to control which trial goes to court first. And right now, that's poised to be the hush money case out of New York, which would have been his preference from the beginning.
And so what is it? What's the status quo, or what is it that is in place now after the Supreme Court decided to take it and have some comment the week from today?
So after the Supreme Court decides to take it, it's going to remain in a static period until they've at least decided what all they're going to do. So nothing can happen before they receive the briefing coming back from Jack Smith. Then after the briefing comes back from Jack Smith, they'll decide whether or not they want to hear the case the same way that the Court of Appeals heard the case. And the practical impact of that process is nothing can happen at the trial court level until that process is completed. That's what makes the hush money case out of New York poised to be the first criminal proceeding that goes to trial.
And David, turning to the Georgia case, what could this hearing have on the relationship between the two prosecutors potentially mean for the case?
So the challenge here, Jose, as we go from discussing cases where the law matters and the history of the law matters to getting down in the dirt, because now we're talking about trial tactics. What this could mean is it could result in Fani Willis being removed from the case. I think the possibility of that happening is actually pretty low. However, that doesn't mean that former President Trump and his legal team don't have a victory here. I think they have already won, regardless of what the outcome is in this hearing. And this is the reason why. No one likes having their dirty laundry aired, and Fani Willis is going to have her dirty laundry aired in public by people who specifically want to malign her. And for whatever, I don't like celebrating people for this, but they're really good at maligning people, especially women. And that's what these huge recent verdicts really tell us.
Also on Thursday, David, Donald Trump will be in New York for a pre-trial hearing in that hush money case that we were talking about. What can we expect from that hearing?
You know, from the hush money case, I think this is going to be the last hearing they have before they proceed to trial. I think we'll hear more heightened discussions about when that trial date is going to occur. And the fact that you get a date from a court doesn't mean the case is actually going to go to trial on that date. Court settings get reset all the time. But really what we should be watching for here is how this case puts in perspective everything else that you and I are discussing, Jose, because everyone has already forgotten what it would have meant back in 2016 for these hush money payments to have been uncovered in a really, really close election. I think it would have been a huge deal. But this case shows how much a delay in time makes people refocus their attention to the benefit of the person facing the charges.
David Henderson, thank you so very much. It's good to see you. Appreciate it.
You too.